guys, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Ndefo. I'm a medical student, and my channel will be teaching you more about health and mostly fractures, things you need to know about your health, about most things that all these traditional bone center they get wrong and stuff like that. So, okay, today we'll be teaching what we call fractures. Fracture is a simple something like it's very common. It's very common. People sustain fractures, different kind of fractures in a day. So today we'll be talking about fracture and explaining very, very deep into fractures, and we need to know much about fractures. Okay, let me start by saying a fracture is just a break in your bone, like when something breaks. Then when it breaks in your bone, it's called fracture. Then there are different types of fractures when it comes to the fracture you have. They have simple fracture, compound fracture. Then the simple fracture goes with a fracture when it happens. The fracture is closed, like your skin is still there. The bone does not poke or does not disturb the skin. The fracture is the bone that is fractured is still inside. Okay. Then the compound fracture is the kind of fractures when when you have the fracture, your skin is being disturbed, like it tears out and it causes a big kind of wound on your skin. So let's start by factors that causes fractures. Okay, number one, the kind of things that or factors that contribute to fractures. One, there is this what we call osteoporosis. Osteoporosis. I know you guys might be wondering what's the meaning of osteoporosis. Osteoporosis simply means like when your bone is too soft. So that's when it's osteoporotic. Then it contributes to fractures. Osteoporosis happens mostly in aged people when you come up to an age like when you get to 70, 60. So that's when you say your bone is still osteoporotic, though it's not compulsory. It happens in some people. Then another factor that contributes to fractures is trauma, which is we call accident or any kind of trauma. Then another thing that causes fracture is cancer. It depends on the kind of cancer you have. There's this kind of cancer that goes down into your bone and makes it very, very weak. Okay. So another thing that causes fracture is stress. Let's say when you are too stressed out, like this one happens to the athletes maybe they run too much and they make use of their whatever. So it makes your bone break. Then when it comes to type of fracture, like I just explained to you guys the factors that contribute to fractures. Then type of fractures we have different types of fractures, which I'll be naming some for you here. Okay, let's start by the green stick fracture. The green stick fracture it happens in children. Why it's called the green stick fracture is because when a fracture is something like your bone is still intact, and when it breaks, it does not separate because of there's this kind of layer or skin that is on top of your bone, which is called the periosteum. So it helps it or it makes it very strong, like not separating from each other. It happens in children from the age of 7 to 15. That's why it's called the green stick fracture because the green stick or the periosteum, which does not allow it to separate. Okay, that's why it's called the green stick. Let me use this local example for you guys. When you get a live or like when you guys are little, when you get a live stick, then when you break it, there is this kind of coat that is very very strong that is inside that does not allow you to separate. Though you know that you broke the stick, but despite you know that you broke it or you break it, whatever, still the coat that very thick coat does not allow it to separate. So that's why it's called the green stick fracture. The name is gotten from that green stick. So it applies to human being when the bone breaks and it does not separate. That's what it's called the green stick fracture. Then we have this kind of fracture again. It's called the committed fracture. This is when when you have a fracture, like you have an accident or let me say you have a trauma, a big trauma, and when it gets to the bone, it shatters the bone, like it makes it to fall in pieces. That's when it's called committed fracture. Like these kind of people, um when they have fracture, it happens mostly on their tibia and the femoral bone. When a big trauma or accident, so it makes the bone shatter. That's why it's called committed fracture. Okay, there's this one again that is called the pathological fracture. This occurs in a condition where the bone is being like is weak. So any little thing makes it to break. Like that's it leads us back to what they call the osteoporosis, like the osteoporotic bone, which is very weak. That's from that pathological fracture you get the osteoporosis. So when the bone is very weak and when it breaks, it's said to be a pathological fracture because it's the bone is weak and there is a condition that causes it to be weak. Like a normal human being like me now, or like people from age of 1 to 60 or 1 to 50, their bone just it cannot just break like that when there is without trauma or without any severe weight or something. But when you get old, like when you get old, though, like I said before, it happens to some people. It happens to some people. So there's this kind of fracture again. We have it's called the transverse fracture. Okay, this kind of fracture that happens when the bone breaks, but it's still in a straight line. It does not separate from each other. That's why it's called the transverse fracture. So that's it. Okay. We will continue by saying the next kind of fracture we have what is called the hairline fracture. Okay, this kind of fracture is though it's rare. The hairline fracture it happens. It's said to be is a tiny or partial fracture that is on your bone. Like it just makes a straight line, though it's broken, but it's just a straight line. It's not too much. It does not disturb you from moving, but you don't have to stress your bone because once you stress it, it's going to complicate things. Okay, guys, let's go over to factors that affect healing of bone. Um, some people might be wondering because when they get to traditional bone setters and all this native, like when they get to doctors for surgeries, and after which is does not heal, and they'll be wondering, this man does not know what he's doing. There are some factors that we ourselves like we contribute in making our wound not to heal. One of them is smoking. Like I can't know or I can't imagine like you're on a sick bed and you're also smoking when you have a fracture. How do you want your bone to heal? That kind of a thing. Another thing again is excessive alcohol consumption. It's difficult. Most guys like taking alcohol. Well, I don't understand why you guys like alcohol. Though alcohol is good, I don't condemn such. It's very good, but you need to know your limit and know your dosage. Don't ever try to, because of hype or whatever. Once you're on a sick bed, you need to respect that. And like, once you get healed, you can still be doing whatever you are doing. Then another thing that contributes to fractures not healing is sex. Most of you might be wondering, sex, like sex. Most people on a sick bed, they do have sex with their partners. Some have sex with um their girlfriends, thereby making it not to heal. Because once you're in a sex position and once you're trying to reach your climax, you need to be fast, right? So, and once you are fast, you're trying to displace whatever he or she, which is your doctor, has done. So sex contributes to fractures not healing fast. Then another thing again that contributes to factors that makes your bone not to heal is age, the person's age. Okay, which that one is kind of rare actually. Once you eat and once you avoid these necessary things that I said, smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, sex, and the rest, your bone will heal fast. Okay, thank you for that. Don't forget to subscribe and press the button below. If I messed up, just give me comments on the section down. Then if I try, just give me a thumbs up. Thank you. It's your boy David. Okay, guys, please don't forget to subscribe and you know like my videos, please. Okay, on my next video, I'll be talking about what's called gangrene. Most of you might be wondering what's gangrene. Gangrene means dead tissue, like something that is dead. It's called gangrene. So in a medical form, it's called gangrene. So just I'm going to tell you guys more about gangrene, kind of gangrenes we have, factors that causes gangrenes and stuff like that. Okay, so watch and stay tuned, please. Thank you.